Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever noticed how some ambitious plans, like building a massive new airport or launching a super popular app, seem to glide forward effortlessly, while others stumble, get stuck, or even completely fall apart? It's easy to think it's just about having the smartest people or the biggest budget. But what if I told you there are these invisible forces at play, like secret ingredients in a recipe, that either supercharge a project or secretly sabotage it from behind the scenes?
That's a fascinating way to put it, because these invisible forces aren't magic at all. They're actually well-defined, very real elements. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the very environments where projects operate. We're going to pull back the curtain on these powerful influences so you can clearly see how everything from the weather outside your office window to your company's own history and past experiences can dramatically shape a project's destiny.
And this isn't just for someone managing a massive construction site, is it? You might think this is for big corporate types.
Oh, not at all. This knowledge is a real superpower for anyone. If you're organizing a community event for your neighborhood, maybe planning a detailed science project for school, or even just coordinating a complex family trip across states, understanding these underlying forces can give you an incredible advantage. It allows you to anticipate problems and leverage opportunities you might otherwise miss.
So our mission today is to cut through any confusing jargon and explain these powerful concepts specifically. Enterprise environmental factors, we'll call them EES for short, and organizational process assets, or OPAs. Explain them in a way that, say, an 8th grader can easily grasp. We'll use examples that truly hit close to home, especially here in India, making it practical and relatable.
And we'll also tackle organizational systems, which are essentially the DNA of how companies operate, and reveal how these fundamental structures impact every single project run within them. By the end of our conversation, you'll have a whole new lens through which to view the world of projects, from the smallest school assignment to the largest national endeavor.
All right, let's kick things off with the big picture then. When we talk about a project's environment, we're really looking at two main types of influences: EEFs and OPAs. I like to think of them as the very air a project breathes and the essential tools it has in its toolbox.
That's a good way to think about it. They are the fundamental conditions that surround and shape any project, whether it's a massive construction effort for a new expressway or something seemingly simpler, like organizing a local community cleanup drive.
They're always present, always influencing outcomes, right?
Always. And getting a handle on them is the very first step to truly mastering project success.
Okay, so break down EEFs for us first, enterprise environmental factors.
Right. EEFs are exactly like the external weather patterns and the internal climate a project faces. And crucially, there are conditions not under the project team's direct control. Imagine you're trying to build an intricate sandcastle on a beach. The EEFs would be the tide steadily coming in that's totally external, you can't stop it. Or an internal condition might be how wet or dry the sand already is when you get there. You didn't make it that way, it just is.
So you just have to work with it.
Exactly. These factors are absolutely critical because they act as direct inputs to your project planning. They can be incredibly favorable, like a calm, sunny day, giving you a boost and enhancing your options. Or they can be extremely unfavorable, like a sudden storm, placing significant constraints on what you can do and how you do it.
Whether positive or negative, they're going to impact the outcome.
Absolutely. Inevitably. They will influence the final outcome. They're the background music to your project, constantly playing, always setting the mood, and often they're the silent reason why projects soar or sink. The real superpower isn't just knowing these factors exist, but developing an almost intuitive radar for how they can secretly sabotage even well-planned projects, often because they're ignored until it's much too late.
That's a crucial point. It's like ignoring the weather forecast until the monsoon arrives.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, we have OPAs, organizational process assets.
Right.
If EEFs are the environment, then OPAs are like your family's secret recipes for that perfect biryani, that well-organized kitchen with every spice jar labeled and all those invaluable cooking tips passed down through generations.
Yes, that's a great analogy.
They're internal to the organization and, crucially, can be influenced or even updated by the project team, right?
Exactly. They are the accumulated wisdom, the established tools, and the tried and tested methods residing within your own organization.
Like that mythi shop example you mentioned.
A perfect analogy. Think of a popular mythi shop in Old Delhi. There are specific recipes for gulab jamun that have been perfected over decades, passed from father to son. That's an OPA. a knowledge asset. The meticulous way they clean the kitchen every single day to meet hygiene standards and local regulations, ensuring consistency and safety, that's another OPA process. And even their detailed record of how many lattice they sold last Diwali, which they use to predict future demand and avoid waste, that's their organizational knowledge base, a vital OPA.
So historical data they can use.
Yes. Precisely. These are the tried and tested methods, the historical data, and the established ways of working that an organization possesses and can leverage. They represent institutional memory. And while a lessons learned database sounds obvious and incredibly valuable...
Yeah, everyone says you should have one.
Right. But the truly transformative insight is that few organizations actually integrate it into their daily planning. They make the same mistakes repeatedly despite having the answers in their own memory bank. That's where OPAs become a superpower, when they actively used and improved.
So our research clearly maps these influences. They break down into two big buckets. EEFs, external conditions, or internal ones you can't change.
Correct.
Or OPAs, the internal elements, which you said are divided into the company's rule book, like processes, policies, procedures, and its collective memory, the corporate knowledge base.
You got it. And we'll unpack each in detail, showing how they combine to create the unique landscape for every single project.
It's the interplay between these two that really defines the context, doesn't it?
Absolutely. EEFs are given often unchangeable facts of the world, while OPAs are cultivated and refined over time within the organization, making them a strategic asset, potentially a competitive advantage.
Okay, let's dive deeper into EEFs then. As we said, these are the big factors that influence, constrain, or direct a project, but they're generally outside the project team's direct control.
Yeah, they're like the fundamental rules of the game everyone has to play by. Or maybe the terrain on which you're trying to build your project.
You can't change the climate, but you absolutely better know if it's monsoon season or not when you're planning an outdoor event in, say, Mumbai.
Exactly. These aren't just minor inconveniences. They can fundamentally alter a project's scope, timeline, budget, and even its feasibility. Understanding them is paramount for realistic planning and risk mitigation.
And these EFs can come from inside and outside the organization.
Correct, both internal and external sources. It's absolutely crucial for project teams to acknowledge and plan around them because they can significantly impact how effective a project is and its eventual outcome.
So a project manager isn't just looking at their task list.
Not at all. They're also constantly scanning the horizon for these environmental factors. Are there new government regulations coming that will affect how we produce our product? Is the national economy booming or slowing down, impacting our customers' ability to pay? Is our company culture generally supportive of innovative, risky projects or resistant to anything outside the norm?
Right. Those are all EEF questions.
Exactly. And they demand attention during every phase of a project's life cycle. Ignoring them is like setting sail without checking the weather forecast or knowing the currents. You're just asking for trouble.
It's fascinating that even inside a company, there are EEFs that are beyond the project team's immediate control.
Yeah.
That seems a bit weird at first.
It's about perspective, right? The overall organization sets these conditions, often at a much higher level, and the project team simply has to operate within them.
So what are some of these internal EEFs that can silently shape a project's fate?
Okay, first we have organizational culture, structure, and governance. This is basically the company's personality.
It's personality.
Yeah, it's vision, mission, core values, prevailing beliefs, the leadership style that's common, and even the established hierarchy of how authority flows. Imagine you're building a new software feature. If your company's culture is very strict and hierarchical, where every single design decision has to go through multiple layers of approval.
Oh, sounds slow.
It often is. A project manager might have far less freedom to make quick decisions or innovate compared to a more relaxed, flat organization that encourages autonomy and rapid prototyping. Think of a traditional family business in India, perhaps in textiles or manufacturing, where every decision, no matter how small, might need the elders' explicit approval.
Right, that cultural expectation.
That cultural bedrock can undeniably slow down project timelines. Now, compare that to a modern tech startup in Bengaluru, which might have a very agile culture, encouraging quick, independent action and experimentation, giving project teams much more latitude. This fundamental cultural bedrock dictates how information flows, how risks are perceived, and how quickly changes can be implemented. It's like an unseen hand guiding the project.
That paints a very clear picture. Okay, next, internal EEF. Geographic distribution of facilities and resources. This seems pretty straightforward, but I guess it can have big implications.
Absolutely. Does the company have factories scattered across different cities? Does it rely on virtual teams working from home, maybe even across different countries? This significantly impacts communication, logistics, and coordination for any project.
Yet time zones alone can be a headache.
For sure. An IT company with development teams in Pune, support staff in Hyderabad, and sales in Delhi needs a robust plan to coordinate a single software release. Their reliance on cloud computing and shared systems, while enabling this distributed work, also means that the availability and reliability of those systems are internal EEFs.
So the infrastructure they rely on.
Exactly. It dictates how easy or difficult it is for team members to collaborate and access necessary resources. If your team members are scattered, you can't just walk over to someone's desk for a quick chat. You need well-defined virtual collaboration tools, and their quality directly impacts project efficiency.
And tied very closely to that, information technology software. Are there specific mandatory tools the company must use?
Yes, this can be a real hidden hurdle. For example, if a project team is developing a new mobile app, but they're forced to use an old, slow, and clunky enterprise resource planning ERP software for tracking expenses because that's the company-mandated system.
That's an internal EEF they can't easily change for their project.
Precisely. That outdated software directly affects their efficiency, the speed at which they can get things done, and maybe even their morale. This also includes things like specific configuration management systems, how you control versions of documents and code, or establish work authorization systems. Your project might hit unexpected delays simply because the required internal IT setup is inefficient.
That sounds incredibly frustrating. Knowing there's a better tool out there, but you're stuck. Okay, how about resource availability? Isn't that always a project constraint?
It is, but here it's viewed as an EEF when it involves factors beyond the project manager's direct ability to acquire resources. This isn't just about having enough people, but also things like organizational rules for contracting suppliers, maybe needing to use only pre-approved vendors, or complex collaboration agreements already in place.
So the rules around getting resources.
Yes. Can the project team easily get what they need, people, equipment, materials, or are there significant organizational hurdles or pre-existing constraints? For instance, a construction project in India might be constrained if company policy dictates they can only buy cement from a specific pre-approved supplier, even if that supplier is known to be slow or expensive. That's an internal EEF impacting their options.
Okay, makes sense. And finally, for internal EEFs, employee capability. This seems like something the company should control.
And they do at a high level, like through hiring and training, but the existing capability right now is an EEF for a specific project starting today. It means the current skills, knowledge, and expertise of the human resources already within the organization.
Right, what you have now.
Exactly. Does the company already have a deep pool of experts in, say, artificial intelligence if the project needs AI skills? Or will they have to train existing people, which takes time, or go through a lengthy, costly hiring process? The existing human resources expertise, specialized skills, and competencies directly impact how quickly and effectively a project can be staffed and executed. You have to work within those current capabilities or plan a separate effort to build them.
Now let's step outside the company's four walls. What are the EEFs that come from the wider world? They're truly external forces that no single organization or project team can possibly control.
Right, these are the ones you truly just have to adapt to. First, marketplace conditions. Think about the competitive landscape. Who are the major players in your industry? What's your company's existing market share and brand recognition? Are there new trends affecting customer demand?
Like that food delivery app example.
Precisely. A startup launching a new food delivery app in India would be heavily influenced by existing giants like Zomato or Swiggy, their market dominance, their delivery networks, their customer loyalty. That competitive landscape is a huge external EE. It directly impacts how your project would be received and its potential for success. It's the economic ocean you're swimming in.
And beyond just economics, there are also social and cultural influences and issues. This seems really broad but crucial.
It's incredibly crucial and often underestimated. This includes the general political climate, deeply ingrained societal norms, ethical considerations, and overarching public perception. How will the community react to your project? Will it be seen as beneficial or harmful?
Like building a factory near a village.
Exactly. A project to build a new factory in a rural area of India might face strong opposition if it's perceived to harm the local environment. deplete vital resources like water, or displace communities without adequate compensation. These are significant social and cultural issues that can quickly lead to protests, legal battles, massive project delays, or even outright cancellation. Prevailing codes of conduct and ethical standards also fall here.
Then there are the non-negotiable boundaries. Legal restrictions.
Right.
These are the laws of the land, right?
Precisely. Country or local laws related to security, data protection, business conduct, employment, how you buy and sell things. Any project involving handling personal data, like a new digital payment system being developed in India, must strictly comply with the country's stringent data protection laws, like the Digital Personal Data Protection Act.
No choice there.
None. Failure to comply can lead to massive fines, legal battles, and severe reputational damage, completely derailing a project. These aren't suggestions, they are mandatory rules.
Next, commercial databases and academic research. These sound like external sources of wisdom.
They are valuable sources of information that companies can buy or access to help them plan. This includes things like benchmarking results from other companies, how did others perform on similar projects, standardized cost estimating data for various types of work. What's the typical cost for this kind of construction in this region? Industry risk study information, risk databases. What risks are common in this sector?
Okay, so learning from others' data.
Exactly. It also encompasses general industry studies and publications, providing insights into best practices or emerging trends. A construction company might purchase access to a database of typical construction costs per square foot in different regions of India to accurately estimate their new project. Helps avoid costly overruns by leveraging wider industry knowledge.
And related to that, government or industry standards. These often come with serious penalties if you don't follow them.
Absolutely. Are there specific rules or quality benchmarks set by government bodies or industry associations that the project must adhere to? For instance, building a new highway in India requires strict adherence to specific Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS, for quality of materials, construction processes, safety protocols.
Like quality control rules.
Exactly. These regulatory agency regulations and standards related to products, production, environment, quality, workmanship are often mandatory. They define minimum acceptable levels.
Another big one, probably impacting almost everything, is financial considerations. The economy.
Yes, this is the macroeconomic environment.
Yeah.
Currency exchange rates, interest rates, how much it costs to borrow money, inflation rates, how quickly prices are rising, tariffs on imported goods, and even the general financial health of the geographic location where the project is being undertaken.
So if you rely on imports,
For a project relying heavily on imported components, like building a solar power plant using foreign-made panels, it would be highly sensitive to changes in the rupee-dollar exchange rate. A sudden depreciation of the rupee could dramatically increase the project's cost, acting as a major external EEF, potentially halting the project if the budget can't absorb it. These are powerful, often unpredictable external forces.
and finally, physical environmental elements. The actual working conditions. You can't control the weather.
Precisely. This refers to the actual physical working conditions, like prevailing weather patterns or specific geographic constraints of the project site. You can't control the monsoon, but you absolutely have to plan for it if you're building in regions susceptible to heavy rainfall and flooding in India. It dictates your schedule and methods. A road construction project in the Himalayas, for example, will face vastly different physical environmental elements. Steep terrain, landslides, heavy snowfall compared to one in the flat, often hot plains of Punjab. These conditions directly dictate construction methods, timelines, safety precautions, even the types of machinery you can use. Failing to factor these in is just asking for trouble.
Okay, so if EEFs are largely out of our hands, the unchangeable facts, then OPAs are much more within the company's control.
Organizational process assets. These are the company's specific plans, procedures, accumulated knowledge
Yes,
that actively help manage projects. It's like the company's internal wisdom bank.
you've got it. OPAs are any artifact, practice, or knowledge from past projects or the organization itself that can be used to execute or govern a new project. This includes everything from how they do things, their established methodologies, to what they learned from past successes and failures, completed schedules, risk data, financial performance from previous jobs.
And the key difference is the project team can influence these, or at least add to them. Exactly. Since OPAs are internal, project team members may be able to update and add to these assets as necessary throughout their project. They become living documents and resources. They are absolutely crucial inputs to many project management processes, providing a strong foundation and a clear roadmap, preventing teams from constantly reinventing the wheel.
So OPAs aren't just one big pile of information. You mentioned they're grouped into two main categories.
Yes, they are. Processes, policies, and procedures, and organizational knowledge bases. It's important to differentiate these because their nature and how they're used and updated differ significantly.
One is like the company's how-to guide or rule book.
Right.
The other is its collective what we know archive or memory bank.
Exactly. They both inform and support projects, but in different ways.
Let's start with the rule book part. Processes, policies, and procedures. These are like the official operations manual telling everyone how things should be done. And generally, these aren't updated during a project by the project team. They're set higher up.
That's a crucial distinction, yes. These are the standardized ways of operating, often established by a central body like a project management office, PMO, or just by long-standing company practice. They ensure consistency and adherence to organizational standards. They include guidelines for different phases of a project.
Okay, like for initiating and planning.
Right. When you're starting out, you might find guidelines for tailoring. How can project teams adapt standard company procedures to fit their unique project? Acknowledging flexibility is needed. Specific organizational standards, policies for HR, health and safety, security, quality, procurement, environment. Very important.
That construction site helmet example fits here.
Perfectly. A construction company in India might have a strict policy and OPA that all workers must wear helmets on site. That's a health and safety policy they follow for every project. Also, product and project life cycles, methods, and procedures. How the company expects projects to progress, standard methods for estimation, process audits, maybe checklists, and templates. Ready-to-use forms for project plans, documents, reports, contracts, risk registers.
Saves a ton of time, I bet.
Huge time saver, ensures consistency. A software company in India might have a standard project kickoff meeting template, an OPA, that all project managers must use. Ensures everyone covers the same essential ground. Also things like pre-approved supplier lists or standard contract types they prefer to use.
Okay. Then what about when you're executing, monitoring, and controlling the project? What OPAs help there?
Good question. During the project's execution, you'll rely heavily on change control procedures. Absolutely critical. How do you formally propose, review, approve, and track changes to the project plan, scope, or budget? Keeps things from spiraling out of control.
The bug reporting example fits here.
Yes. If a project building a new mobile app finds a critical bug, the company will have a specific bug reporting and fixing procedure, an OPA, to follow. Ensures it's handled systematically. You'll also have financial controls procedures. How do you report time? How are expenses reviewed and approved? What accounting codes do you use? Essential for financial tracking. Issue and defect management procedures. Similar to change control, but specifically for tracking problems and ensuring they get resolved. Resource availability control and assignment management. How are people and equipment officially assigned and tracked? Organizational communication requirements. What tools are allowed? How long do you keep records? Security protocols for sharing info. Procedures for work authorizations. How do you get official permission to start a piece of work? More templates, like standard formats for risk logs, issue logs, and change logs. And standardized guidelines, work instructions, evaluation criteria, how work is actually done, how proposals might be judged, how performance is measured. Finally, product, service, or result verification and validation procedures. How do you check if what you've built is correct and actually meets the customer's needs?
Wow, that's a lot of how-to guides. And then closing the project.
Yep, there are OPAs for that too. Project closure guidelines or requirements. How do you officially end a project? This includes things like final audits, evaluations, getting formal sign-offs, reassigning team members, and crucially, transferring knowledge.
That knowledge transfer sounds key for the next project.
It is. For example, after a successful event, an event management company in India will have a formal post-event review process, an OPA. They document what went well, what could be improved, finalize payments, release resources, and crucially, archive those lessons learned. This feeds back into the company's wisdom bank, ensuring continuous improvement.
Which brings us nicely to the second big category of OPAs, organizational knowledge repositories. This is where the company stores all its past experiences, data, lessons learned, like that library of wisdom you mentioned.
It's precisely that. And unlike the processes and policies, which are usually more static during a project, these repositories are constantly updated throughout a project, accumulating new insights and data.
So what kind of stuff is in there?
Well, you'd typically find Configuration management knowledge repositories. This holds versions of software, hardware components, standards, and key project documents. Keeps track of what's what. Financial data repositories. A goldmine of info on labor hours, actual costs incurred, original budgets, and cost overruns or underruns from all past projects. Invaluable for future estimating. Historical information and lessons learned knowledge repositories. This is incredibly valuable. Records from past projects, why certain decisions were made, what worked, what didn't.
The real estate developer example.
Exactly. A real estate developer in India, before starting a new apartment complex, would access their lessons learned database, an OPA. They'd look for challenges from similar projects, maybe delays getting local permits, specific material shortages during monsoon season, unexpected community issues. The database might show how they handled those issues, successfully or not, offering direct experience to guide the new project. It helps you anticipate problems and leverage past solutions. You'd also find issue and defect management data repositories, status of past problems, how they were resolved, outstanding action items, data repositories for metrics, performance data on how well processes worked, product quality metrics, and project files from previous projects. The actual archive documents, old scope statements, cost baselines, schedules, risk registers, stakeholder lists, concrete examples of past efforts.
Okay, so beyond the environment, EEFs, and the tools and knowledge, OPAs, there's the very system of how a company works. This determines fundamental things like who has power, who influences decisions, who is responsible for what. How does this system affect projects? It sounds like the underlying framework, the invisible wiring.
It absolutely is. This is where the human element and organizational dynamics come powerfully into play. A project manager needs to deeply understand the organization's structure and governance to effectively use their own power, influence, and leadership to succeed. The organizational system determines the power, influence, interests, competencies, and even the political capabilities of the people acting within it.
So it's not just about the written rules, but understanding the unspoken rules, the real dynamics.
Precisely. It's about how people interact within those rules, how decisions really get made, and where true authority lies, which might not always match the official org chart. Imagine a big family business, perhaps a successful chain of restaurants in India. The system is how decisions are made. Maybe the eldest uncle has the final say on all financial matters, regardless of title. Or perhaps it's a democratic family council where everyone gets a vote, even if it takes longer. This system dictates who gets to do what, who has authority, how resources are allocated, and ultimately how smoothly projects run. Understanding this is fundamental to navigating any project within that organization.
Our sources mention several fascinating principles about systems themselves. These sound like universal truths about how complex organizations operate.
They are, and they have direct, profound implications for project management. First, systems are dynamic. They're always changing, not static. An organization isn't fixed. It's constantly evolving due to internal and external pressures. Second, systems can be optimized. You can make the entire system better, improve its overall performance, like tuning a complex machine. Third, system components can be optimized. You can also make individual parts or departments better, like improving just the marketing department. But here's the crucial, often misunderstood point. Systems and their components cannot be optimized at the same time.
The trade-off.
Exactly. It's a fundamental trade-off. Improving just one part might not necessarily improve the whole, and sometimes optimizing a component can even be detrimental to the overall system, like trying to get the best fuel efficiency from a car, system optimization, while also trying to maximize engine power for speed, component optimization. You can't usually do both perfectly simultaneously. And finally, systems are nonlinear in responsiveness. A small change in one part might lead to a huge, unpredictable, disproportionate change in the overall outcome.
The ripple effect.
Yes. A tiny ripple can become a surprisingly big wave. So optimizing one department for hyper-efficiency might unexpectedly create bottlenecks or chaos elsewhere. The organization's management has the critical job of examining these trade-offs and taking action to achieve the best overall outcomes, understanding that a perfect solution for one part might create a bigger problem for the whole.
So management has to make smart trade-offs between optimizing parts and the whole, and this directly impacts projects because a project always operates within this larger dynamic system.
Absolutely. It can't exist in a vacuum. The wisdom is in understanding that delicate balance. Now let's talk about organizational governance frameworks. Governance is essentially the framework for how authority is exercised in an organization.
The rules of engagement.
Pretty much, the rules of engagement for everyone involved. It covers who makes decisions, who is accountable, and how information flows. It's designed to determine and influence the behavior of the organization's members, ensuring alignment with strategic objectives, and providing direction and oversight through data and feedback.
So it's much more comprehensive than just a list of rules. Dictates the pulse of the organization.
It's far beyond a simple list. It includes formal rules, policies, procedures, unwritten norms, the way things are commonly done, interpersonal relationships, existing systems, and defined processes. This holistic framework influences how objectives are set and achieved, how risk is monitored, and how overall performance is optimized.
Can you give an example?
Sure. A nonprofit organization in India working on community development might have a governance framework that requires all funds to be audited by an independent body annually. That ensures transparency. Or it might dictate that all new community initiatives must be formally approved by a council of local community leaders before implementation, ensuring local relevance and buy-in. This framework is specific to each organization and guides how projects align with broader goals.
It's definitely not one size fits all, is it?
Without a doubt, a governance framework needs to be tailored meticulously to the specific organizational culture, the types of projects being done, and the unique needs of that organization to be truly effective. Project governance specifically refers to the framework guiding project management activities to meet goals, often fitting within a broader organizational project management (OPM) framework. Our sources highlight 4 key governance domains: alignment, risk, performance, and communications, each with functions like oversight, control, integration, and decision-making.
Okay. What about management elements? How do these fit into the organizational system? Are these just about how managers manage people?
They are deeper than that. These are the fundamental principles of general management applied within an organization based on its governance and structure. Think of them as the building blocks of how work gets done and people are managed at a foundational level. How governance principles are put into practice daily.
Okay, like what kind of principles?
Foundational concepts like division of work, breaking down tasks based on specialized skills. Authority, the power given to perform work, coupled with responsibility to do it appropriately. Principles like discipline, respect for rules. Very importantly, unity of command, only one boss giving orders for any specific action to avoid confusion. And unity of direction, one plan, one leader for a group working towards the same objective, everyone pulling together. These elements also emphasize that general organizational goals should trump individual goals: fair pay, optimal resource use, clear communication channels.
Right materials, right person, right time.
Exactly. Fair treatment, job security where possible, safety, encouraging open contribution from everyone, and fostering optimal morale. Even in that traditional Indian joint family business example, someone handles sales, someone production, division of work. The head has authority, unity of command. Everyone contributes ideas, open contribution. Fair treatment keeps harmony. These are universal principles for effective operation.
The structure of an organization also profoundly impacts projects. Our sources discuss different types, and it's clear the right structure is never one size fits all.
That's a critical point. The best structure isn't static. It results from careful study of trade-offs between types and optimizing for a given organization's context. It's unique because so many variables need consideration.
Like what variables?
Things like alignment with objectives, specialization capabilities, span of control, efficiency, clear escalation paths, lines of authority, delegation, accountability, adaptability, simplicity, cost, physical locations co-located, regional, virtual, and clear communication. Choosing a structure is a deeply strategic decision impacting project potential. It's the blueprint for power flow and resource distribution.
Our sources provide a great comparison of different structures. Can you highlight a few key examples, keeping it simple?
Absolutely. Let's look at a few common ones to see how they impact projects and managers. First, organic or simple. Think small startup, local street vendor. Very flexible, flat, people do a bit of everything. Project manager authority is usually very low, maybe just a coordinator or the owner. Resources are limited. Owner manages the budget, like that local Chaiwala example everyone pitches in. Owner's the boss. Decisions are quick, but scale is limited.
Okay, very basic.
Then, functional, centralized. Very common, traditional, like a big government department or school. People grouped by function engineering, marketing, finance. Project managers have little authority, often part-time coordinators trying to get resources from different departments. Functional managers control resources and budgets. Think of a large public sector bank in India, separate departments for loans, accounts, HR. Getting resources for a cross-departmental project, like a new digital banking app, means getting approval from each department head can be slow. Project managers here often feel like negotiators.
Right. What about matrix structures? They sound more complex.
They are trying to blend functional and project focus. Projects still arranged by function, but there's also a project manager role, creating dual reporting. In a weak matrix, functional managers still hold most power. Project managers are often part-time coordinators with limited authority. Functional manager controls the budget. A balanced matrix tries for more even power distribution. Project managers have moderate authority, sharing decisions with functional managers, needs lots of collaboration, can be slower. In a strong matrix, project managers have high authority, full-time roles control much of the project budget, closer to a project-oriented approach within a functional setup.
Can you give an analogy for that?
Sure. School science fair project, weak matrix. Your science teacher, functional manager, calls the shots. The fair coordinator, PM, just reminds you of deadlines. Strong matrix. The fair coordinator, PM, is almost your main boss for that project, guiding work, allocating lab time, even though you're still in your regular science class. PM authority grows from weak to strong.
Got it. And the last one, project-oriented.
Right. Project-oriented. Composite hybrid. Here, the organization is built around projects. Dedicated teams are formed for each project, reporting mainly to the project manager. Project managers have high to almost total authority, full-time roles, manage the project budget, resources often dedicated solely to that project. Think of a dedicated construction company in India forming a new, self-contained team for each building project. The PM for that building has complete authority over its resources and budget. Huge focus and control for the PM allows rapid decisions.
These different structures truly define who has power and resources, which hugely impacts project speed and success. The structure is foundational. You could have the best team, but if the structure hinders you, it's an uphill battle.
It absolutely does. The choice of structure is strategic, directly translating into operational efficiency and project delivery effectiveness. It's about empowering the right people or creating frustrating roadblocks.
One important structure that often comes up, especially in large organizations, is the PMO, or Project Management Office. What exactly is a PMO? Is it project police, a helpful guide, something else?
That's a great question because its role can vary dramatically. A PMO is an organizational structure that standardizes project-related governance processes and facilitates sharing of resources, methodologies, and tools. Think of it as a central hub helping all projects run better and more consistently, a sort of center of excellence for project management.
Its responsibilities can vary, though.
Hugely. From just providing support functions like offering templates, all the way to directly managing one or more projects itself. Essentially, the PMO helps with strategic alignment and delivering organizational value by integrating data from various projects, ensuring they contribute to higher-level strategic objectives.
And there are different types of PMOs based on their level of control.
That's spot on. 3 main types, offering different degrees of control and influence. First, the supportive PMO. This is like a library or internal consulting service. It provides templates, best practices, training, lessons learned. It acts as a project repository, offering guidance when asked. Degree of control is low. They provide tools but don't enforce their use. An Indian example, a large company's HR department offering PM courses and templates for internal training projects. They enable but don't dictate.
Okay, low control. What's next?
Second, the controlling PMO. This PMO offers support but also requires compliance. Like a strict librarian who ensures you use the right forms and follow the rules, provides moderate control. Compliance might involve requiring specific methodologies, like everyone must use Agile for software, mandating specific templates and tools, and ensuring conformance to governance frameworks. For example, a large IT services firm's PMO ensuring all new software projects use a specific Agile framework and reporting template, conducting audits to ensure adherence. They set standards and check them.
Makes sense. Moderate control.
Yeah.
And the highest level.
Third, the directive PMO. This PMO takes full control of projects. Project managers are assigned by and report directly to the PMO, not a functional department. Provides high control, essentially running the projects itself from start to finish, allocating resources directly. For a large government infrastructure project, like a new metro line in a major Indian city, a dedicated directive PMO might be established. It would manage contractors, assign PMs, make key decisions to keep the project on track, on budget, and meeting quality standards. Acts as central command.
So a PMO can be a powerful entity, making recommendations, transferring knowledge, even terminating projects. That sounds like more than just support.
Absolutely. A PMO can be an integral stakeholder and key decision maker, especially in a directive model, ensuring alignment with business objectives. Its authority can extend to making critical recommendations, leading knowledge transfer initiatives across the organization, and yes, even terminating projects that are no longer viable or strategic. Its primary function is supporting project managers by managing shared resources, developing methodologies and standards, coaching, monitoring compliance via audits, and coordinating communication across projects. It's truly a strategic enabler for effective project management.
Okay, those are a real deep dive into the hidden forces and instructions that shape every project. From the weather outside to the company's rulebook, and even its very DNA, it all matters. It's like seeing the intricate machinery behind every visible outcome, whether it's a new skyscraper rising in Mumbai or just a simple app update. These invisible forces, EEFs, OPAs, the organizational system are the secret ingredients.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding EEFs, OPAs, and organizational systems means you're no longer just seeing a project as a task list. You're understanding why it moves, stops, or excels. You're seeing the intricate dance of internal wisdom the OPA is reacting to and navigating the external reality and internal constraints, the EEFs, all within the overarching design of the organizational system. It allows for a much more nuanced, proactive, and ultimately effective approach to management and leadership.
So what does this all mean for you, our curious listener, as you go about your day? The next time you observe any project, big or small, maybe your local municipal corporation repairing a road after the monsoon, a new startup launching a cool product, or even just your family planning a big wedding, think about these invisible influences. Think about the EEFs causing delays or creating opportunities, and the OPAs being leveraged or perhaps unfortunately ignored.
This raises an important question for you to ponder. Now that you know about EEFs, OPAs, and organizational systems, what project in your own life or community do you think would be most impacted by these factors? And more specifically, which single EEF or OPA do you think will play the biggest, most surprising role in its ultimate success or biggest challenge? Considering this will help you apply these powerful concepts immediately.
That's a fantastic thought to leave you with. Keep observing, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world around you. Until next time.